Barbecue. It's one of America's great food traditions, and I'm going to get some today at a place called Sloppy Mama's Barbecue in Arlington, Virginia. The vast majority of barbecue spots in the DMV don't profess to belong to any one given school of barbecue and cook a variety of items in various styles. So let's go to Sloppy Mama's and see what they've cooked up. Here at Sloppy Mama's Barbecue, they make no distinction between fatty, moist brisket versus lean brisket, as some places do. They just have straight up brisket. But as I look at it, it looks like the fatty variety, the marbled variety, as opposed to the lean one. And they cut it rather thickly too. Some places chop up the brisket and serve it to you. Some places, most places, will cut it at various whiffs into slabs and kind of like flaps of meat. It's rather thick here, so let me just dive in. I think I'm just going to use my hands rather than try to negotiate it with a fork and knife. Well, let me just grab it and tear at it. And as you're doing so, as I'm doing so, you can also learn about the moistness of it, because depending on how easily it tears, you can tell how tender it is. Oh. I don't want to comment on it immediately. I want to take a few bites, because that's how you really get a good assessment of this brisket. As I'm tugging on it and pulling the pieces off, some of the pieces are quite fatty, and those are the best pieces, the ones that have some marbling and some fat attached to it. Like this piece right here is rather fat-free and it's more lean. Okay, as I'm eating this brisket, it probably is a good time to mention what their approach is in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. We are not in any particular regional barbecue hotspot. I mean, there's Carolina barbecue to the south, and there's obviously a Texas barbecue, Memphis barbecue, Kansas City barbecue way out to the west of us. So most barbecue places kind of pick and choose and borrow from this style and that style. This brisket, however, is a Texas style brisket. The goal here is to smoke it and to build a bark on the outside with a salt and pepper rub. So that's Texas style. And in Texas, they wouldn't slather it up in sauce either. You would just eat it straight up. And so this reminds me very much of the brisket I had in Texas. Okay, at the back of the restaurant, they have this kind of condiment station, fixins bar type of thing. They have pickles, pickled onions, pickled jalapenos, and this cabbage tomato relish. And I'm sure everything is more or less sour to kind of partner and balance out the richness of the meats, particularly the brisket. Let me just munch on some of these things. Here's a pickle. Oh yeah. Well, that's good. Nice and sour. Wow, it's a bright sourness. And it really kind of like wakes up your palate and kind of cleanses it. Here's some of the onions. Oh, yeah. Some relish. Oh, I think these accoutrements would be good if I was like fixing up a sandwich or something like that. And in fact, they have like complimentary slices of Martin's potato bread. Maybe I should make a brisket sandwich. In fact, I think I will, because that's a good way to enjoy these sour elements. Oh, it's a complex bite, so you're getting the meatiness of the brisket with the sour punch of those pickled elements, and in fact, it's good. But my preference would be to eat it just plain, without the bread and making it a sandwich. I think I prefer to eat brisket that way. That way, you really get to enjoy the meat for what it is. I also got some pulled pork, and the gentleman at the counter, at the front counter, who helped me said that the pulled pork is Carolina style, or it leans toward Carolina style. And so here it is. Let me just get a few bites as is. Oh, yeah. Wow. Wow, that pulled pork is exceptionally tender and moist, and smoky. Smokier, more moist, and more tender than the brisket. I think they nailed it, this pulled pork. Wow. This is luscious. This is luscious pork meat. Wow. Wow. The issue with pulled pork, it comes from the pork butt, the pork shoulder. It's called butt, but it's from the shoulder. It's a large block of meat, and you have to really smoke it and cook it for a long time. I mean, the brisket also, but it has the tendency to dry out. But I think it tends to be more moist than brisket because it's fattier than brisket. So with the fattiness of pork, you have a buffer against all that heat. So it tends not to dry out as readily as brisket might, as brisket would or could. I'm inclined not even to use any sauce. This is so good just the way it is. But let me try some of the sauces because they have a whole array of sauces. Given that the pulled pork is Carolina style, I'm going to try it with the Carolina barbecue sauce. And my understanding of Carolina style barbecue sauce is that it tends to be thinner and really potent in terms of its vinegar. So it does look thin. So ooh, let me just dip it in here. Oh, yeah. That's thin and vinegary. And it's good. But again, this pulled pork is so good. Wow. I wouldn't say that Carolina barbecue sauce, fills in a hole that needs to be filled in. I mean, this pulled pork is just slightly augmented, if at all, by that Carolina sauce. I mean, let me try. Oh, there's a Kansas City sauce. And my understanding of Kansas City barbecue sauce is that it's tomato-based, and it's not as thin. It's thicker and sweeter. Here it is. It's a little bit darker, too. It's not as red. Oh, yeah. Oh. Yeah, that's good. It's a thicker sauce. And it's sweeter than the Carolina sauce. In fact, I think I like the Kansas City sauce better. The Kansas City barbecue sauce, it might be something you would see in the dictionary. If you looked up barbecue sauce, you would be more apt to see Kansas City sauce next to that definition, that dictionary entry, rather than the Carolina thin vinegar sauce. Okay, let me get to the ribs. As I'm examining it, I can see very clearly how dark they are, and that would be indicative of the style. I was told that these are kind of Texas ribs. So again, a Texas barbecue rib would be rubbed simply with salt and pepper, more or less. Maybe some other things, but it would be salt and pepper. Those would be the main protagonists in a Texas rib. So it's smoked, and you end up with a sauceless rib. And as I'm looking at the side view, I'm looking for the smoke ring, and there isn't a sharp demarcation, meaning in some ribs you will see a very clear demarcation, a reddish pink color that kind of transitions very abruptly into the kind of meaty colors of the flesh. This rib has a more gradual color variation, meaning it's kind of reddish pink and it kind of fades into the center, so there isn't a sharp smoke ring. I don't know exactly what that means in terms of the flavor. I guess I'll find out shortly. Oh. In terms of the tenderness, these ribs are perfect. They have the fall off the bone quality, but it's not like it's just slipping off readily without any effort whatsoever. That would indicate a bit of overcookedness, maybe. In terms of the flavor, I mean, I'm tasting the salt and pepper, but it's not, I don't think it's a purely Texas-style rib, because I can taste other flavors. So what other flavors? I don't know, but there's like a savoriness, there's a spiciness, there's a hit-in-your-face kind of flavor that's certainly beyond just merely salt and pepper. Maybe a dab of like cayenne and maybe some garlic powder, onion powder, paprika, you know, the usual suspects that you might find in a rub. The bark on this thing is really good. They achieved a nice bark. When you eat the bark, it's really good because that's where all the rub is, and so it carries a lot of flavor. The part of the rib close to the end has these bits of cartilage and fat, and it's really good. That makes it really good. Wow. Okay, I got some more sauce to try out. Again, with a Texas-style rib. In Texas, I don't think they would use any sauce on their ribs. But I'm going to, just for the sake of trying the sauces, I'm not going to be strictly Texas here and not use any sauce. I got this white sauce. It's the Alabama white sauce. I believe white barbecue sauce is mayonnaise and vinegar based. So I'm going to dip it in this white sauce. Ooh, ooh. Oh, wow, that's good. That vinegariness of the white sauce complements the fattiness of the pork meat. And there's a slight creaminess also from the mayonnaise flavor. It's quite good, actually. It's very thin. Look, you can see it running down the rib. It's a very liquidy type of sauce. Oh, wow. Okay, there's something called a Georgia Gold barbecued sauce. It's a kind of beige, brown, orangey color. Actually, much like the shirt I'm wearing right now. Let me just dip it in here. Ooh. Yeah, it's a mustard vinegar-based sauce. Oh, yeah. That's good, too. It's thicker than the Alabama white, but it's not as thick as the Kansas City barbecue sauce. It's very balanced in terms of the sourness and the mustardiness. Wow, that's good. Wow, that's really good. Georgia Gold. Wow. At Sloppy Mama's, they have a vegan entry on their menu. It's barbecued jackfruit. This is something I've never heard of or ever seen before, and I had to get it because it sounds very intriguing. And if you look at it, it looks like pulled pork. It has the stringiness of pulled pork or pulled chicken or something like that. Look at this. Let me bite into it. Oh. First of all, the sauce really comes through. It has a vinegariness. There's a very prominent sour note to it, and it's not terribly spicy. It's not hitting your face kind of spicy, but it is spicy, and it's sweet. So there's a tomatoey element too. So the sauce is really good. I would say the jackfruit is mostly a textural element. It has a soft kind of, fleshiness about it. So it does mimic meat. Look at this. This is a very good barbecue meat substitute. Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong. You wouldn't confuse it for meat necessarily, like in a blind taste test or something maybe. But there is a meaty quality to it. I mean, there's a substance behind that jackfruit. I guess that's what I'm saying. It's not flimsy and inconsequential. Well, that ends another episode. I hope you enjoyed this glimpse into the barbecue scene in the Washington, D.C. area. I should be doing more barbecue episodes in the future, so watch out for those. Until then, please subscribe, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and leave a comment. I'll catch you next time on my next episode. Take care. Bye-bye.